Hello, everyone. It's Aaron Smith here. Hope you're well. Just to let you all know that the session is now being recorded. If you want to use closed captions on Teams, do press the three little dots in the middle of the screen and click on the closed captions icon. I have turned it on. If you miss anything, as I said, the session will be recorded and you can come back and we will have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you can keep your microphones muted, that'd be most appreciated. And welcome everyone to this empowering potential session all about Microsoft 365 and how accessibility is running. I can let you know that myself and my colleague Rachel are running similar sessions at the same time. So if you're in the US, you may want to go on and look at Rachel Berger's session. Of course, if you're in the UK, stay with me. So I'm going to start the session here. So welcome to this session, and it's all about empowering your achievement. We want to empower young people, and we want to empower people when it comes to accessibility and disability. So my name's Aaron Smith, and I am the UK's dyslexia and SEND consultant. So my role is to deliver accessibility within the UK. And whenever I start a presentation, I always start with this. I always start with kind of why is Microsoft in this space? Why do we do this? And it's all down to our leader. It's all down to Satya Nadella, our CEO. He has delivered a massive culture change within Microsoft, and the change is very much apparent. And it comes back to this mission. So it says that at Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I think when we look at accessibility, disability, um, SEND, special educational needs, I think achieve more is really important. Now, I love putting slides in like this into my presentation. When you see our leader, uh, um, when you see our leader putting in and tweeting stuff like this, you can see this, that it says there that accessibility is a Microsoft priority. We focus in designing and building products that our customers love. They are accessible for everyone and built in for each of us. And that is so true. That is so cool to see that that concept is going on. It's really empowering to see that. And I think that by the end of today, you will see that. Um, that we are really changing the way that we think of things. Now, who am I? You can't see me. I haven't got my camera on. I haven't turned my camera on. But here's a picture of me there. My name, as I said, my name's Aaron Smith. And why am I delivering this session for you today? Well, the biggest thing you want to know about me is that I am severely dyslexic myself. I'm 35 years old, 36 years old, and I have a reading age of a 9-year-old, a spelling age of an 8-year-old. I'll get it right. I will do in a second. I um, I live in the UK, and as I said, I'm the UK's dyslexia and SEND consultant. And my role is to deliver accessibility into the education community. And being severely dyslexic, I have that knowledge. I've worked with people for many years in the field of dyslexia. Now, I always tell you a little bit about me and how that I was diagnosed at age 9. And being diagnosed at age 9 was quite an interesting time for me. Uh, when my parents told me that I was dyslexic, I never understood what that meant. I kind of thought, well, that's understandable. That's why I feel like this. And that's good. I was like, yeah, this is good. I know it is. But I often use this concept for that dyslexia to me was like going to the dentist, the feeling of stress and anxiety. Now, yes, I left school with qualifications. We have GCSEs in the UK, and I left school with 5 GCSEs. I went and did some stuff. I went to a college and did a GMVQ and an AVCE, and then I walked into a job in youth work. I then walked into a job as a builder, and think that I also have dyspraxia as well. So pushing a wheelbarrow is quite hilarious. Then I worked in retail for a few months, or for a few years actually, and I ultimately got a job working for the British Dyslexia Association, where I was their membership development officer, and that kind of brought me into this concept of how to use technology and how technology can really affect and support people even. Uh, in 2016, I went independent, and now I own 4 companies myself. I'm a director of many companies, work with many organisations, and my biggest contract, of course, is working with Microsoft to deliver this awareness in the UK. Now, the reason I say that story is that actually, without some of the technology I'm going to show you today, I cannot do my job. The technology I'm using every day is Microsoft, and without this technology, I can't do my job. But when we look at that concept of disability and difference, we actually know there is 1 billion people in the world with a disability. And that's quite a lot of people. We know that 83% of us will get a disability at working age. We know that 70% of disability is invisible or hidden. 13 million people in the UK have a disability, and we estimate 6.4 to 7.2 million people in the UK have dyslexia. Now, if we just take that statistic there, it's quite a good statistic to have, in the sense that we know that 40% of our entrepreneurs have a dyslexic tendency. But then we also know that 50% of the UK prison population have a literacy difficulty. So Microsoft took that knowledge that there's a billion people, and we added a little bit more to our mission. So where our mission is at Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. We added, with more than 1 billion people in the world with a disability, there are no limits to what people can achieve when technology reflects the way they use it. And that is so true. For me, I use technology in a different way to probably some of you. And I don't just use one piece of technology. I have a laptop, I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, I have a Surface Pro, I have a Surface Go. I use multiple technologies for multiple reasons, and that's the benefit for me. And that's the benefit for me to use this type of technology to enable me to deliver my own accessibility. And when we look at the world we are today in this COVID situation, mobile technology is really important. I would actually say my mobile phone is probably the biggest accessibility tool I have today, and that's enabled that. Can I just ask? I think there's someone that hasn't muted their microphone. If they wouldn't mind just doing that, just because I can hear it in my headphones, that'd be most appreciated. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go into actually how Microsoft are looking at this area, because we're not just looking at people with, say, dyslexia, or with other hidden disabilities. We're looking at people with other things. We're looking at people with mental health, neurodiversity, mobility, hearing, visual learning. We're already doing that hearing part today. I'm using captions in Teams. I'm using closed captions in PowerPoint, which is freely available to us. You can use that at any time. You can do that. Is very useful and very powerful for our learners. It is. So it can be very useful to actually look at all these things that we're doing. So this is kind of your first takeaway of the day. So this link on the screen there that says aka.ms/accessibility sway. So aka.ms/accessibility sway, or as my friend says, aka.ms whack. He says whack rather than slash. So whack accessibility sway. You can use that. So that's a really good way to look at it. Now, of course, I'm going to talk about learning today because it's all about education, but I want to talk about mobility for a few seconds. So think about the concept of mobility. So let's think about our learners that have mobility disabilities. Let's think about someone that might have a disability with physical movement. But then let's think about gaming. So hopefully you all know that Microsoft own Xbox. So they own Xbox, and Microsoft have delivered something for people with physical disabilities, and that is we created the world's first accessible game controller. Now, I like to tell you this story because I believe it's a really positive thing that Microsoft did. We've created a device that allows anyone with a physical disability to game, but not only that, we've now allowed people to use this on their Windows 10 devices to control their computer. We've allowed them to use it on their iPads to control apps. This is a really useful way. I've seen people use this to control switches, to control PlayStations. This is a unique piece of kit which only costs $74.99. Now, of course, the switches are more expensive than the sensors, but the mouse manufacturer Logitech have actually created a pack of switches for about £100, about 12 switches for £100, specifically for this product, which is just so amazing and so user-friendly. But not only is the device accessible, and this video may be a little bit jumpy on the Teams and the recording, but the box is accessible. This allows anyone with a physical disability to open this box, use a hook, use a little finger, use your teeth. I know I have done it. And that is just so powerful. So what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about our inclusive classroom message. We're going to look at reading, writing, and communication. We're probably not going to look too much at maths. I'll mention it when we get to it, but reading, writing, and communication. Now, it starts off with an idea. Back in 2015, Microsoft hacked into OneNote, the product called Learning Tools, the feature called Learning Tools. And this was because at a hackathon, we thought, you know what? We want people to, we want to help and support people with dyslexia. And that's what we did. That product now is called Immersive Reader, and Learning Tools has become this product that is not just in in OneNote; it's actually across the operating system. So it does some amazing features and tools, which includes text to speech with synchronized highlighting, visual stress aids, grammar options, real time translation, picture dictionary, math to speech and dictation. We also have some amazing formatting options as well. Now it's got on my screen now to demo this. Now, if you're not using closed captions on the team, but you want to use it on Teams, do click on it and on the three little dots and click on Show Closed Captions. I have got them running because I am going to cover up the closed captions now on PowerPoint. Because what I'm going to bring in here is I'm going to bring in my Office 365 demo tenant. So I've logged into Office 365 now. Now, the reason I'm using office.com, so office.com, because this is free for every school. Every school in the UK, every school in the world theoretically can have Office 365 for free. And this is why I'm using Word Online as a concept. You can get these features in Word Desktop, which is the one when you press the Windows key, you'll see that come up, but I don't normally talk about that because that is a paid for product. You have to have a subscription, either personal subscription through Microsoft Personal or through Office 365 licensing, say A3 or A5. But we're going to look at this here now. Just to remind you, if we've never seen the screen before, we have Outlook here, which is our email and our calendar. We have OneDrive there, which is our kind of like our personal storage. It's a terabyte storage. We have Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We have OneNote, which is an amazing tool for people with dyslexia. It's a brilliant scrapbook tool, a brilliant exercise book tool. We have SharePoint for our storage, Teams for communication, Sway for non-person communication. This is for sending information to people that you are not when you are not there to present. Forms for communicating and getting feedback from your students and your teachers and your parents. Class notebook for delivering exercise book. Planner for planning activities and progresses. To do for managing your managing your time and making sure you get jobs done. And Stream, our amazing inbuilt in inside video channeling system. It's just so powerful for it all, and all of these have accessibility built in. But of course, we're going to talk about something that actually is really important, and that is Word. So I've got a Word document here that I just edited today, which I'm just going to open up today. Now, if I was in my school environment, this could have been shared to me via either through Teams or through an email. And basically this may be a document that I've had to open up on Teams assignment. Now I've opened up this document and I've been told part of my assignment is to read this. So I've got to read this. Now, as I told you, I'm severely dyslexic. Now, yes, I could probably go and buy a piece of software. I could go online and find some TTS software, text-to-speech software, that may be free. But actually, I don't want to go anywhere. My school is pretty locked down. I want to do it all within the inbuilt atmosphere I'm in, and I'm going to do it all within Microsoft 365. I'm going to click on the View tab because View is for looking, View is for seeing, and I'm going to go into my own personal immersive reader. This is personal to me as the user. It's personal to me as the reader, and it allows me to manipulate. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, it's got a white background and it's spaced text out. So it's done that automatically, but I can do a lot more. So I can go into the A button and I can make the size of the font bigger. So again, we've got people with VI, with visual difficulties. We can make it a little bit easier for them. And I'm dead sure that size there, that's not 84. It's probably not the biggest size you want, but it's a good size. I can turn that spacing on and off. So I could put that spacing on or off. I'm going to leave it off. I'm going to put it around there and leave the spacing on. A couple of fonts to choose from, of course. Comic Sans, dyslexia friendly font. A's, G's, really nice. I've got different background colors to choose from, so I can choose different background colors. I'm going to choose this green one for today. And then the last thing I've got here is this show formatting. Now, this is a new feature I added in October. Now, all this is doing is, if you look at the wording here, study of Earth landform, if you look at it, it's not bold anymore. We know that some people find italic text or bold text harder to read. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn that off for you so you can see what it looks like. But now we can do so much more. We can now manipulate this text. We want to look at the parts of speech. So we can syllabarize the text. We can break the words up into syllables, physical, geography, landforms. I can pick up my nouns, my verbs, my adjectives, my adverbs. Now my nouns are the same color as my background. So I'm going to change that color to a purple. So we can now see it. Now I may be colorblind. And I can also, so it means I can add labels on there, which again is really powerful. Now you probably wouldn't have all of these on at the same time, but really useful for learners. And there you go, you can see all the nouns there, which I think is just so useful. And it's really good that you can change it if you're using a phonics program within your school and you use it with colors. That would be really useful. So the other thing we can do is focus in lines. We can remove them distractions, which is again really useful for our learners to helping them remove that concept. But of course, the biggest thing as well is this that I really like is I click on the word study and I have picture dictionary. Now this is all free. There is no additional cost for you. This is all free for you as learners and for you as teachers and you as educators. This is just there. It's available for you today. You don't have to install anything. It's just available. Office.com. It's in Word. It's in OneNote. It's in Edge. You're going to see it more and more coming out. And we can click on words and really use it. But of course, the biggest thing is this. I can press the play button here and hopefully you can hear this.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography. Landforms can be mountains and valleys. They can also be glacier or rivers.
Think of the quality of that voice. The quality of that voice is so good. It sounds like a human. That is a neuro voice. It's a new voice we brought in. It is. If I put the male voice on.
Rivers. Landforms are sometimes called physical features.
That's a little bit computerish. But the thing about it is that I really like is this. I can click, if I start at the beginning again and listen to this, I can make it really fast.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography. Landforms can be mountains and valleys. They can also be glacier or rivers. Landforms are sometimes called physical features.
I was actually running this software at that speed yesterday. My mom always says, can you slow it down?
Or features. It is important.
And that sounds a little bit more computerized, but I think that when we have it at 1, it's a really good sound. Now, and that's really good for them dyslexia learners. They can listen to text, they can check the list. It's good for your gifted and talented children because they can check their own work. You can make sure they're actually doing their own self-learning, which is really powerful. But what about our EAL students, our English as additional language students? Well, now we can actually pick out their language. So we can pick out, say they've come from India and they speak Hindi. We can now, or they can read Hindi, we can turn it into Hindi. We can also read out loud out in Hindi.
पृथ्वी के भूरूपों के अध्ययन को भौतिक भूगोल कहा जाता है.
Which is really useful for some people doing synchronization. We can pick other languages like we can go French.
L'étude des reliefs terrestres de la Terre s'appelle la géographie.
Again, another one of them neurotech voices, really nice voice there. And now my favorite one, of course, at the moment is Arabic. And you need to understand why Arabic is a favorite language. Watch this.
وتسمى دراسة أشكال الأرض الجغرافية الفيزيائية.
Check out the synchronization. The synchronization has changed. And that is so powerful. That is so useful for your learners. I think that's just amazing, I do, that how we can do certain things. It's a real useful tool to have to be able to do that read aloud and then reading functions. But say we've listened to it, and of course we can go back in any time. How do we deal with then that spelling and that writing point of view, that kind of communication point? Well, actually, on the home tab, we have the dictation button. Now, this dictation button is really cool online. So it has this amazing feature where you can turn it on, and I can now talk on what I'm saying, and it's going to appear on the screen, full stop, new paragraph. And I can turn it off there. It's got this lovely control panel that actually has some settings. So I can now change this to spoken in UK. So it's now being taught in UK English. So this really helps our learners because that is kind of a useful thing as well, that when we're actually doing it, I'm speaking now the language that I actually speak and my accent is being supported, full stop, new paragraph. Think about using this for words and stories, full stop, new line. We can look at things like my daughter is bouncing on the trampoline and then being silly on the swing, full stop. and it's so useful. But also, there's this amazing help button that allows us to look at things. And one of the things that I really like is this. So if I press the Alt, and it's on a UK keyboard, it's the At key. Sorry, Alt. I've now turned the microphone on. I've now turned the microphone off. I can also, on the settings here, put punctuation on. And it also tells me a few commands that I can do as well in here, which again is really useful. The other thing about communication and kind of that writing point of view, Microsoft has also added editor. So editor is now an advanced spell check that actually does it, and actually can calculate stores. And can you see here that actually our editing score is at 93%. So our grammar is one and needs looking at. Formatting needs looking at, and there may be some other things. It actually works out things like how quickly you can read. There's quite a lot of formatting that we need to look at. I am, it is, I am, and now there's a few more. So clarity we can change. Now I'm speaking, actually speaking, I'm, and that now we've got. Let's just check if there's a grammar issue there. Saying, comma. I'm now at 100%, and this will then kind of look at this and start looking at how we read this and how we move this forward. It is. So it's really powerful. It is for our learners. It is. So I really like that as well. I just find it so really powerful to actually how we can actually use dictation and use the tools in there. Now you can see that it's gave me a readable, how long it takes. So sorry about this. My computer's just doing something really weird. That's it. I've stopped it now. Okay, so we're looking at now their reading and capabilities. But we've talked about like writing and reading there with immersive reader in the view tab, and we can listen back to what I've read, of course, by going in here and going on, listen to what I've said, making sure it's right. I can also then go back to the home tab and add dictation in, which is really useful. It's a really powerful tool and really helpful tool. But what about then if I'm on the internet, and how do I read stuff on the internet? Well, if you haven't yet seen out there, we have Microsoft Edge. Now this is the Edge browser here. This is the logo here. Now I'm using this browser here. This is the Edge browser I've got open here. Now if I open this up here, and I look down here, I'm going to look for a news article. Let's use this one. I have no idea what it's about, but I've got here an article which is quite interesting. It's from the Independent. I can see that. But as I said, I'm a dyslexic. How do I read it? Now what I can do is I can actually press the right mouse button, and you'll see here there is a read aloud button. It says read aloud, which has been in Edge for a long time.
Samsung announces new Galaxy Z Flip 5G foldable smartphone.
You can see that it's doing that synchronization, and I can actually scroll down here and highlight this bit here and click continue reading.
Samsung has announced the sequel to its horizontally folding smartphone, the Galaxy Z Flip 5G. The phone is almost identical to its predecessor.
So you can see there that I actually want to be able to do is now all that research I'm doing when I'm in on a web page. I can now see that and actually do that. That's really useful for learners. It is. And I'm really impressed with that, and I really like this tool. I use this tool quite a lot. But the other thing I can do is actually, if you look at the top here on the reading on the address bar, this icon has appeared. Now this icon looks very familiar. If I go back to Word and go into the View tab, it's the same icon as Immersive Reader. Because what it is, it's actually Immersive Reader in Edge. And what it does is it removes all them distractions. So now for our dyslexic learners, our autistic learners, our learners that have sensory overload when it comes to a website like a news icon, a news website, we can actually remove all them distractions. And we can now, again, play all this. We can do. We can go in here and go read aloud.
Samsung announces new Galaxy Z Flip 5G foldable smartphone.
And you can see here I've got the synchronization, which is really useful and really powerful. I'm fascinated with this and how we can use this. Again, I can go into the voice option, change the speed, change the voice. I can also go into here and kind of do my grammar options. I can pick out my nouns. Let's put them nouns back onto as purple, the verbs there. There's all my verbs now in purple. I can also like do the line focus and focusing on lines. Again, really useful. I can do translation. I can pick different languages. So I can now really manipulate text that's not mine, and I haven't had to install anything. I've just got the Edge browser, which is such a useful tool to have and really something we should deploy in our schools every day. So we've kind of looked there at how we read in Word, how we read in Office 365, but these tools are not just within Edge and Word. They're in Microsoft Teams. We know that Microsoft Teams is our communication tool. If you're in the post channel or you're in the in chat, you can actually listen to these. They are so useful to listen to. If you use Flipgrid, so Flipgrid is a third-party product which is part of the Microsoft family. If you use Flipgrid, the contents there is actually now has immersive reader built in, which is again so useful for learners. If you're using if you're using Minecraft Education for your STEM work, we've added in immersive reader into this, and there's some really good cool features in this. For me, this is like part of everyday learning. Everyone likes playing Minecraft, but the word creeper is a word in Minecraft. We've also put that as a picture in the picture dictionary. Really useful. I mentioned about Microsoft Forms when I was showing you that screen. Microsoft Forms has immersive reader in it. This is only available for education customers. As an educator, if you have an education account within your schools, you will be able to then use this. And this is really good for comprehension, getting students to understand comprehension and what they listen to, what have they read. The synchronization is doing that read along feature with them. They're doing that finger pointing. Really useful. For our secondary school colleagues, if you're using using Teams for assignments, we have got it built into assignments as well. So if a student can't read their homework or their assignment, they can do now. Again, really useful and powerful. Microsoft Whiteboard is part of Microsoft 365. It's an app on Windows 10. It's brilliant for touch devices like the Surface Pro, the Surface Go, the Surface Studio, the Surface Hub, and even your own interactive whiteboards. This has immersive reader built in for education. If you're using the education license, you get immersive reader. That means your students can read your whiteboards. They can read what you've written. But then it goes to the next stage. We've now allowed developers to use this functionality. If you're a developer, if you're part of that web development team for your school or your college or your university, you can use this on the screen, on your websites. You can use it on your apps. It's a cognitive service. Yes, there is a cost to it for you, the establishment, but to the end user, it's free. It's an amazing tool. Do check that out. If you look at the Azure Cognitive Services, it's an amazing tool. Azure is part of our infrastructure in our cloud service. And like I said to you, the way that we look at voices, we are making voices less computerized. We're making them more neural. And that's really important for learners today. The benefit of what I've shown you so far and what I believe in is that learning tools is a life-changing experience. It changed my life when I found these tools. I use these tools every day and I find them really useful and really supportive. I can't actually live without some of these tools. So I really enjoy using them. I actually use them on an ongoing basis. And I think they're just really powerful for our learners, but then also really powerful for our adults and also for our staff. These features are available across the Microsoft ecosystem. Just by looking at this chart here, that read aloud feature, read aloud in the first thing with synchronized highlighting, it's in 5 versions of OneNote, 4 versions of Word, 2 versions of Outlook, Teams, Flipgrid, Whiteboard, Office Lens, Minecraft Forms, and the Edge browser. Office Lens is a really cool app. Have a look at it. It's on the iOS App Store. It's on the Android App Store. It's all about having a scanner in your pocket. These just features are so amazing. There's like you can see that the dictation is in PowerPoint. We can see that the dictation is in Outlook Desktop. Having Outlook Desktop on your desktop means that we can now dictate into it. That is so useful for some people. That's what I use every day. And accessibility is just getting more and more part of every day. We also have the maths stuff there as well, where we can actually deliver maths in the products there. I've got at the bottom there. So maths equations in OneNote, in Word, and in PowerPoint and Forms. Again, really useful and again, really powerful. Now, I mentioned a lot about PowerPoint there. I want to talk about these 3 products, and this is how artificial intelligence is actually powering the outer atmospheres of our edge stack, of the way that we deliver accessibility to you, the end user. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring back in my my Office 365 in the web. So here's Office 365, and I'm going to open a new PowerPoint. Now, PowerPoint has got a brilliant tool in here. This is in the web. It is in the desktop, but I would always use the web version because I think it's so much more powerful. When you open up a new PowerPoint, many of you will remember that PowerPoint had lots of templates. But we now have a brilliant product called Designer. Now, Designer automatically comes up and brings up some amazing, beautiful designs for you to use. Now, I'm going to turn it off because I know that PowerPoints can take anything from an hour to 2 hours to 2 days to 15 minutes, that kind of concept. But I want to show you how quickly it is for me to develop and create a staff timetable, a staff meeting agenda really quickly. So watch this. I'm going to use Dictation. Staff meeting. ICT. Maths. English. Science. Tea break. Geography. Music. This is what's going to go on. I'm going to make that spelling there and do that. Now that is a pretty boring but very quick setup of a presentation. So I've set that up pretty quickly. I have. It's taken me kind of like a few minutes to set up. It's not like massive to do. It isn't. But what I can now do with this is I can now use Designer to use artificial intelligence to make this look really good. So I'm going to click on Designer. It's going to read my presentation. And what it's done, it's gone out to the world and gone, you know what, actually, Arran said ICT and maths. So you know what? I'm going to put some pictures with that. Now look at them pictures there. So ICT, a computer, maths, a calculator, English, some books, science. It's put in there a microscope, a tea break. It's put a cup of tea in for my tea break. It is. It's put out my geography, my mountains, and music's put a treble clef. That is powerful. We've now made that presentation accessible. That is not just only accessible to anyone because we're using pictures, but also it looks good. It looks like I've spent hours on that. So I'm now impressing my principal because I've done that so well. Really useful. Now, but one of the things is that we don't use calculators in maths. So I'm going to hover over and it brings up this little icon, which means that I can change that to a ruler, or I could hover over it and change it to a plus sign, so we know that's maths. And also in science, I don't know if people know what that is, so I'm going to change that to a like a bubbly bottle, a beaker. That's the word there. Again, so useful. Now what I can also do here is I can add another slide. So let's add another slide in here, and I'm just going to add another content slide here, and I'm going to put in there. And already we're starting to get Designer up, but if I close that down and let's put in there staff timetable, dinner rota, after school rota. I've got two things now. I'm going to use Designer, and it kind of hasn't found anything there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change this a little bit. So I'm going to say, okay, so dinner rota didn't work. So after school and dinner. Let's see what now if I just leave that and click on Designer, and it's now found me two pictures. So it's found me a picture for dinner and it's found me a picture of that. I don't know if I like that picture. Again, I can hover over it. I can change it. But of course, I've got different views. Again, really useful. But I've got some really cool pictures as well I could use. I think I'm going to leave that in there. Now, one of the other things is also I can do is what I really like is actually how we can also customize this with other things. So if I go Arran's coffee shop, take away the I'm, and click on Designer, it's going to pull down an amazing picture of a coffee. But can you see the little plus, the little play icon there? Because actually now we actually have moving videos as well. That is just so quick, so powerful, so amazing. But we can do so much more. In the slideshow tab, we have this brilliant button here. I have closed captions or subtitles running. I can do this on the online version tomorrow. You could go into school tomorrow. I know lots of you are finished, but you can go to school tomorrow. I can have closed captions appear. I'm going to put this at the bottom. I'm going to start from the beginning. You'll see straight away that at the bottom of my presentation, you'll see that closed captions are appearing as I'm speaking. There they are. That is useful. And what I can also do though is if I wanted to, if I put this on overlay at the bottom, start from the beginning. Now, if you watch this now, what's going to happen is just appearing over the top of my presentation is my closed captions. That is so useful and really amazing for our learners. And I think that's brilliant and so powerful. But we can do so much more. So this is really useful. This is why I'm going to just make a new tab because I'm going to need that in a second. I am. But we can also do this called PowerPoint Live. Now, what we can do on here is, of course, I can change my language. So if I wanted to put it in Arabic, I can have it coming out in Arabic. But actually, I'm having it in English because that's for my child, the young person in my class that has a hearing impairment. They want to use that to help them. But what I want to do here is I want to allow people to do this. Now, what I can do here is I've got some amazing audio settings here of what I can do. So basically what I want to do is I want to set this up. This is called PowerPoint Live or Present Live. And I'm going to let anyone use this, and I can set my settings up. So I'm using the headset that I'm on, and it's UK English and subtitle English is that. So this is going to be the default. But what I can do with this is when I start this, it's going to put an amazing QR code up on the screen. Now, by all means, if you're watching this live, by all means, get your phone out, open your camera app, and scan the QR code if you want to do that. Or if you're on a web browser, if you want to, just use the QR code and scan it. So I'm just going to do it myself. 1 second. So I'm doing it now. So I've got it now on my phone. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in this address. So this, ppt.ms/VU VUNEUV. Now the reason I'm doing it on here is so you can see what happens. Because what's going to happen is now is that, as you can see on your phones, if you're watching it on your phone, it will have a play button. If I bring this screen in here on there, you can see what I'm saying is actually appearing here. But what I can do with this is I can change my language. So you should be able to see on your phones, on your device, you'll see that on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little thing that says English, and I can put this in Hindi. So now the whole of this is in Hindi. Every time I stop, it's going to make a new paragraph, or I can put it into Greek, and the whole document's in Greek. That is so useful. But what I can also do here is if I just go into this one here and just go forward to my last slide. So I'm going to go forward a few slides. It's just taking a few seconds. It's down. Come on, computer, wake up. Sorry, it's decided to stop. So I'm just going to stop this 1 second. I'm going to refresh this, so it may not work. So it is doing it now. Let's go to this slide here. So decided that my computer's decided to slow down very quickly. I think because I'm streaming and doing this, it's gone really slow. I apologize for this. I'm just going to refresh the presentation 1 second. I'll be with you in a second, and hopefully this will work. So this is just taking a little while. So it's now kind of stopped working for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out of it, and I'm just going to click on the link here. So I'm just going to refresh this page and hope that I haven't dropped my internet. So there you go, it's just loading slowly. So what that means there is you can see there that actually it's done. There's my presentation 15. Just going to load that back up. What will happen is you won't be able to do stuff. So it may in a second come with resume session. I don't know if it will do. I think it's now ended that session. And what worry will have happened is you won't see any more. So it is a brand new product, and I have got lots of things there. Now, what you can do is you can send emojis, and that is also very useful. Now, the last thing I want to show you is what this amazing product here is called PowerPoint Coach. Now, of course, it's letting me do it now. So PowerPoint Coach is a really cool tool here. So I'm going to run PowerPoint Coach. Now, you're going to hear me say some things that are really weird. So do not worry about what I'm going to say, because I'm going to speak really high and it's going to sound really weird because I want to do something. And I apologize. I'm going to speak very, very slowly, and that's because I want it to see that I'm doing something like I'm saying and it's telling me off. And if I say okay, now you guys over there, are you okay? Come on, you guys, and you over there, you ladies, of course, and I'm speaking now a bit empathetically, and it's kind of like not telling me what I'm doing, and I'm speaking a bit weirdly. And look at them big pencils over there. They're massive, and they're big, and they're big, and they're big. Lots of, because we are going to do this, and of course we're going to be amazingly. I'm going to speak really empathetically, and hopefully it's going to come with another error, but it's not. And there you go. Telling me to slow down. So you can see here that I've now done my recording for Rehearse with Coach. So we did PowerPoint live, which I'll show you on the presentation in a second. I've just done Rehearse with Coach, and what it's done is gave me a nice report here. But actually, I said a sensitive phrase there. You guys is actually sensitive. I should say you people rather than you guys. My word average and kind of my pace was a bit up and down. And then also then my kind of target of my actual monotone voice was a bit not very good. So I could rehearse again. Really useful for our learners to actually get that presentation skills down. So what that was there was that is PowerPoint Coach when I'm learning that, and of course with PowerPoint Live, the concept is that I can create and I can go backwards and forwards. I can see it on my phone and I can see it on a web page. I can also send emojis, and I can also get that context that's right. At the end of the presentation, it also gives me this amazing view to actually give feedback. So with the three things I've shown you there was Designer, PowerPoint, Present Coach, and PowerPoint Live. Now, one feature that isn't available yet that is coming, which is linking back to OneNote and live captions. We're talking about live captions on PowerPoint, but in the future, we're going to be able to actually deliver live captions into OneNote. This is going to be for transcription. We're going to be able to do transcription, which is going to be so amazing for learners. It is going to be available probably late. It's not, the beta is going to be out later this month, so it is kind of pushed back because of COVID, but that is an amazing tool. And then the last thing I want to talk about today is I want to talk about Seeing AI. Seeing AI is so important for you. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you have them in your school. Seeing AI is designed for iOS. It's designed for people that are blind, but this will do instant read aloud automatically. So I can hover over any wording on any piece of paper using my phone. It will read it out loud. Really useful, really powerful, just an amazing tool there that I love to bits. So now for your takeaway. So we talked about that first takeaway at the beginning, which was aka.ms/accessibility sway. But this is your big takeaway there. This is what I would love you to do. And this is why I want you to get your phones out, take a photo of this slide. There is my code. What I want you to do is I want you to go to education.microsoft.com, sign up with your Microsoft account, sign up with your Office 365 account, enter that code in TASBEE5B20. That is your code that's going to give you some points for your hour training today. That will give you that link back to so you can become that Microsoft Educator Expert. Amazing loads of resources, and then lots of things you can find of getting started with distance learning, lots of learning paths. There's learning paths about accessibility. And of course, if you're looking at developing your awareness of dyslexia, there is also the dyslexia course Made by Dyslexia that's in there. Really useful. There's the code TASBEE5B20. So do please put that code in if you're on education.microsoft.com. That is specifically for you listening to this training, either on the recording but also on the on Teams today. The last link I want to give you, of course, is aka.ms/inclusive ultimate. This is the link that has loads of videos, loads of blog posts. This is kind of a centralized place where you can find stuff. Really useful link, really powerful. Everything I've spoken about today is built in. It's mainstream, it's non-stigmatizing, and it's free. Building that foundation for success, empowering your learners to be independent learners, empowering you as teachers to understand and support them, and creating independency, creating that environment that is inclusive is all about what we're trying to do. For me, this is my favorite slide of the presentation. Putting technology at the heart of learning, with accessibility tools built in for everyone, creates independent learners and ensure all students achieve their full potential. That to me is so important, it's so right, and that's how I think we should move forward. I want to thank you for listening. There's that code again. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Arran Dyslexia. If you want to drop me an email. And the takeaway also is that if you want to know more about how I can support your schools, your colleges, your organizations here in the UK, drop me an email. We have lots of resources that are all freely available, including training that is available for you for me to do this training in your environment. So do reach out to me. If you want to ask me a question on the Teams, we can do. I'm going to stop the recording so you can ask some questions. If you want to ask me a question from the recording, drop me an email, but don't forget to register at education.microsoft.com. Put that code in to get your that amazing amazing points for listening to me today. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can open up the questions. I'm just going to bring this up.